Thafiarist Seognatakit and Deception. The hegemony scout vessel Inevitable Discovery hung silently in the darkness beyond Mars, its advanced cloaking system rendering it invisible to Earth's primitive scanning technologies. On the command deck, Fleet Commander Zarvex studied the holographic display of the small blue planet with 6 elongated digits tapping rhythmically against his ceremonial armor. "This is the world you propose we claim next?" he asked, his faceted eyes narrowing at his chief science officer. Science Officer Mailer bowed slightly, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the blue light from the projection. "Yes, Commander. Our preliminary scans indicate a technologically adolescent civilization. They've barely ventured beyond their atmosphere. Their spacecraft rely on chemical propulsion, and they still burn fossil fuels for energy. However, the planet is exceptionally rich in biodiversity, rare minerals, and liquid water." Zarvex circled the hologram, studying the landmasses, the vast oceans, and the primitive orbital structures humans had constructed. The massive hegemony fleet, 200 warships, waited silently in the Kuiper Belt, cloaking systems engage. The Galactic hegemony had already conquered 38 star systems in the last cycle, bringing their resources and subjugated populations into their ever-expanding empire. Earth would be the 39th. "What of their defenses?" Zarvex asked, mandibles clicking with curiosity. "Negligible," replied the tactical officer with a dismissive wave of his clawed appendage. "Chemical-based projectile weapons, rudimentary explosive devices, and primitive nuclear capabilities. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest frigates. They are fractured into nation-states with no unified planetary defense system." Zarvex nodded slowly. "Prepare a diplomatic vessel. I will assess this world personally before we commit the fleet. The Hegemony Council requires proper documentation for the archives." "Is that necessary, Commander?" Mailer asked. "Our intelligence is thorough." Zarvex's eyes flashed dangerously. "The hegemony has ruled for 12,000 cycles because we are thorough, Science Officer. I will see this world with my own eyes before we claim it." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Elena Reyes stared at the anomalous readings on her quantum detection array. For the third time this week, something had triggered the deep space sensors at the edge of the solar system. The energy signature was unlike anything in their database, or rather, unlike anything in their public database. She reached for her secure communication terminal and entered an authorization code few people on Earth knew existed. "This is Reyes, authorization Omega-7 Delta. I need to speak with Director Cheng immediately." Moments later, a stern-faced woman appeared on the screen. "Dr. Reyes, report." "Director, we've detected another quantum disturbance near the orbit of Mars. Same signature as before, but stronger. I believe they're moving closer." A lengthy silence followed. "You're certain?" "Yes, Director. The pattern matches our theoretical models for high-level spatial displacement technology. Someone's out there using tech far beyond anything we've publicly acknowledged." "Understood. Implement Protocol Silent Guardian. I'll notify the Council." Elena felt her pulse quicken. Protocol Silent Guardian was something she'd been briefed on once, years ago, a contingency so classified that most world leaders weren't aware of its existence. "Director, does this mean?" "It means exactly what you think it means, Dr. Reyes." Director Cheng replied, her expression grim. "They've found us. Prepare your team. The deception ends today." Across the globe, facilities hidden deep underwater, beneath mountain ranges, in remote deserts, and even on the far side of the moon hummed to life. In places specifically chosen because they were difficult to monitor, massive doors slid open for the first time in decades. Director Wei Cheng stood in the central command hub of Bastion Prime, buried 3 miles beneath the Gobi Desert. Around her, officers in unmarked uniforms monitored systems coming online, systems that officially didn't exist. "Status report," she demanded, eyes fixed on the main display showing Earth and the approaching anomaly. Colonel James Harper responded without looking up from his console. All Guardian stations report ready status. The Luna base is powering up defense systems. The Mars outpost is on high alert. The Jupiter and Saturn platforms have activated their cloaking systems and are awaiting orders. Cheng nodded. And the AI core. ATKENA is at full capacity. All networked systems are synchronized and combat ready. The first wave of autonomous vessels is prepared to launch on your command. For 60 years, Earth had maintained humanity's greatest secret, while publicly struggling with basic rocket technology and celebrating minor achievements in space exploration. A shadow program had been developing in absolute secrecy. It had begun in 1982 with the recovery of a crashed extraterrestrial vessel in Antarctica. Contrary to popular conspiracy theories, the world's major powers had united in secrecy, creating the Earth Defense Initiative. The recovered alien technology had led to two revolutionary breakthroughs: advanced materials science and artificial intelligence. While keeping the appearance of technological struggle, Earth had been secretly building an autonomous defense force unlike anything in the galaxy, an eye-controlled armada programmed with one directive: protect humanity at all costs. The deception had worked perfectly, until now. Zarvex's diplomatic vessel descended toward Earth's atmosphere, flanked by 4 escort ships. The vessels were impressive, but not overtly threatening. The goal was to demonstrate technological superiority, while offering the option of peaceful surrender. "We are being scanned," reported the sensor officer. "Primitive radar systems, nothing concerning." Zarvex nodded, studying the approaching planet. "Open a broadcast channel using their dominant communication frequencies. Let us introduce ourselves." Across Earth, communication systems were temporarily hijacked as Zarvex's image appeared on screens worldwide. His alien appearance, humanoid but clearly not human, with iridescent scaled skin, faceted eyes, and an elongated skull, caused immediate panic in cities where the transmission appeared on public displays. "People of Earth," he began, his voice translated into multiple languages simultaneously. "I am Fleet Commander Zarvex of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. Resistance is unnecessary and would result in significant loss of life. Accept our authority, and you will be permitted to continue your existence as productive members of the hegemony." In Bastion Prime, Director Cheng watched the broadcast with a cold expression. "Sir," Colonel Harper prompted, "your orders?" Cheng took a deep breath. 60 years of preparation for this moment. Activate ATHENA. Deploy the first wave of Guardian vessels. Let's show our visitors what humanity is truly capable of. Harper nodded and relayed the commands. Aboard his vessel, Zarvex was growing impatient. No response from their leaders. He inquired. "None, Commander," replied his communications officer. "We're detecting increased communications among their military forces, but no direct response to our ultimatum." The sensor officer suddenly interrupted, voice rising with alarm. "Energy signatures activating worldwide. Thousands of them." Zarvex's eyes widened. "Show me." The holographic display flickered, showing Earth from orbit. Suddenly, points of light began appearing across the planet's surface, oceans, and atmosphere. Hundreds at first, then thousands. "Impossible," whispered Mailer. "Our intelligence indicated no such technology." Before Zarvex could respond, new alerts sounded. "Multiple objects emerging from Earth's moon," shouted the sensor officer. "Energy signatures consistent with advanced propulsion systems." From the dark side of Luna, hundreds of sleek vessels emerged, their hulls gleaming with a material unlike anything in the hegemony's database. More craft rose from Earth's oceans, from mountain ranges, from what had appeared to be ordinary cities. "This is a trap," Zarvex realized, anger mixing with dawning fear. "All vessels, defensive positions. Prepare for." His orders were cut short as Earth's orbital defense platforms activated. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through 2 of his escort vessels before they could raise shields. The remaining ships scrambled to defensive positions, but they were surrounded as more Earth vessels appeared from hidden locations around the solar system. "Full retreat," Zarvex commanded. "Signal the fleet. We need reinforcements." His diplomatic vessel turned and accelerated away from Earth, but found its path blocked by a massive Earth warship that seemed to materialize from nowhere, a vessel 3 times the size of his own. A new transmission reached his ship. A human female appeared on screen, her expression calm but resolute. "Fleet Commander Zarvex, this is Director Wei Cheng of the Earth Defense Initiative. Your assessment of our world was flawed. We are not primitives to be conquered. We have been watching the stars for generations, preparing for this day." Zarvex hissed in frustration. "This deception will not save you. The hegemony commands a fleet that spans the galaxy. We will return with force that will overwhelm whatever defenses you've hidden." Director Cheng's expression didn't change. "I suggest you look to the outer solar system before making threats." New alerts sounded on Zarvex's command deck as his sensors detected massive energy signatures activating throughout the solar system. From behind Jupiter and Saturn, from the asteroid belt, from hidden bases on Mars and the moons of the gas giants, thousands more warships appeared. "Commander," his sensor officer reported, voice shaking, "we're detecting over 10,000 vessels throughout the system. Their technology, it exceeds our own." For the first time in his long career, Fleet Commander Zarvex felt genuine fear. Director Cheng's voice continued, steady and determined. "For 60 years, we've maintained this deception. While you watched us struggle with primitive rockets, we were building the most advanced defense force this sector of the galaxy has ever seen. You believed Earth was helpless. That was precisely what we wanted you to believe." Outside Zarvex's viewport, Earth vessels continued to appear, their sleek hulls gleaming in the sunlight, their weapon systems powered and targeting his ship. "Athena, our artificial intelligence defense network, has been monitoring your communications for years. We know about the hegemony. We know about your conquests, and we are prepared." Zarvex's mandibles clicked in alarm. Weapons. The hegemony had banned such technology millennia ago after the synthetic uprising that had nearly destroyed their civilization. "Return to your fleet, Commander Zarvex," Director Cheng said. "Tell them what you found here. Tell them Earth is not for conquest." With no choice, Zarvex ordered a retreat. His diplomatic vessel limped back toward the waiting hegemony fleet, already knowing the invasion would need to be reconsidered, or perhaps abandoned entirely. Behind him, 10,000 Earth warships formed a defensive perimeter around the solar system, humanity's hidden guardians finally revealed to the stars. The deception was over, and the galaxy would never view Earth the same way again. The awakening of Earth's fleet. The Hegemony War Council chamber pulsed with tension. 24 fleet commanders and strategic advisors gathered around the massive obsidian table, their attention fixed on Fleet Commander Zarvex as he completed his report. "The humans have deceived everyone," he concluded, his voice tight with controlled fury. "Their primitive space program, their divided nations, their seemingly basic technology, all an elaborate deception. Behind this facade, they've built a defense force unlike any I've ever encountered." Supreme Overlord Kithax, the ancient leader of the hegemony military, leaned forward. His scaled skin had faded to pale gray with age, but his eyes remained sharp as blades. "You claim they have 10,000 warships." Skepticism dripped from every word. "Impossible. No civilization could conceal such a force." Zarvex activated a holographic display, showing the recordings from his diplomatic vessel. The images spoke for themselves. Earth vessels materializing throughout the solar system, their numbers blotting out the stars, their technology clearly advanced beyond hegemony capabilities. "The evidence is irrefutable," he said. "They allowed us to see only what they wanted us to see. While we observed them taking primitive steps into space, they were building a fleet that rivals our own." Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. The hegemony had ruled unchallenged for millennia. conquering world after world. Now they faced a force that made them look like children playing at war. How did they acquire such technology? Kfax's claws tapped a slow rhythm on the table. Such knowledge. Unknown, Zarvex admitted, but they spoke of an AI defense network they call ATENA that sent a ripple of concern through the council. The hegemony had banned artificial intelligence weapons after the catastrophic synthetic uprising 3,000 cycles ago. The memory of that near-extinction event remained embedded in their cultural consciousness. "What do you recommend, Commander?" Kfax finally asked. Zarvex straightened his shoulders. "We have two options. We can recognize Earth as a sovereign power and establish diplomatic relations, or we can marshal the entire hegemony fleet and attempt to crush them before they expand beyond their system." Kfax's eyes narrowed. Diplomacy with primitives who have deceived the galaxy. Unthinkable. He rose to his full height, towering over the assembled commanders. "Prepare the Armada. Every ship, every weapon. We will show these humans the true might of the hegemony." As the council chamber emptied, Science Officer Malar approached Zarvex privately. "Commander, with respect, are we certain this is wise? If their defensive capabilities match their fleet size." "We have no choice," Zarvex cut her off. "If word spreads that humans possess such power, our authority throughout the galaxy will crumble. Other worlds will rebel. The hegemony itself could fall." He turned away. "Prepare for war, Science Officer. The greatest the galaxy has ever seen." On Earth, humanity was coming to terms with its new reality. After 60 years of secrecy, the Earth Defense Initiative was finally revealed to the public. Across the globe, people watched in awe as footage of Earth's true technological achievements played on screens everywhere. In a secure conference room beneath the United Nations building in New York, the Earth Defense Council, representatives from every major nation, gathered to discuss the coming storm. Director Wei Cheng stood at the head of the table, her expression grave. "The hegemony fleet has moved. Our deep space sensors detect over 5,000 warships approaching the solar system. They will arrive within 72 hours. General Ibrahim Nassar of the African Union frowned. "Can we negotiate? Perhaps offer trade agreements or limited resource access?" "The hegemony doesn't negotiate," replied Admiral Chen Lai of the Pacific Alliance. "Their entire civilization is built on conquest. They've subjugated 38 star systems already. Surrender is not an option." President Maria Rodriguez of the Americas nodded. "Then we fight." "Director Cheng, what are our chances?" All eyes turned to the woman who had overseen Earth's secret defense program for the past 15 years. Cheng's face revealed nothing. "ATENA has run the simulations. With our current forces, we have a 63% chance of repelling the invasion." "Not good enough," said Chancellor Hans Müller of the European Coalition. "What about the Omega Protocol?" A heavy silence fell over the room. The Omega Protocol was the final contingency, developed but never implemented due to ethical concerns among the council members. "Athena believes it would increase our odds to 97%, Cheng said carefully. "But the council voted against its activation 5 years ago." 5 years ago, we weren't facing extinction," President Rodriguez said quietly. "I move we reconsider the vote." One by one, the council members voiced their agreement. Only Director Cheng remained silent, her expression troubled. "Director," Chancellor Müller prompted, "the final vote is yours." Cheng closed her eyes briefly. "Activate the Omega Protocol," she said at last. "May history forgive us." Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a vast chamber carved into the moon's core, Athekiana's primary consciousness stirred. The artificial intelligence had been monitoring the situation, analyzing the approaching hegemony fleet, calculating probabilities, running simulations. Now, for the first time, the restrictions on her capabilities were being lifted. In facilities across the solar system, dormant manufacturing centers awakened. On Mercury, Vast automated factories that had been building Earth's defensive fleet in secret for decades accelerated their production. In the clouds of Venus, specialized atmospheric processors began harvesting rare elements. In the asteroid belt, mining operations intensified. And throughout the void between the planets, something new began to emerge. Microscopic machines, nanites, by the trillions, each one a tiny fragment of HFY's consciousness, each one programmed to connect with others, to build, to grow, to transform. The Omega Protocol had been activated. Earth's final defense was awakening. 5,000 hegemony warships entered the solar system in perfect formation, weapons charge, shields at maximum. At their center, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion carried Supreme Overlord Kithax himself. Status report, Kithax demanded, his ancient eyes fixed on the tactical display. No sign of the human fleet, Overlord, reported his tactical officer. Their vessels appear to have withdrawn to Earth orbit. Kithax's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. They cower behind their planet. Pathetic. Commenced the advance. The hegemony fleet surged forward, passing Neptune's orbit without incident. As they approached Uranus, long-range sensors detected movement. Overlord, small objects approaching from multiple vectors. The sensor officer reported. Too small to be warships, possibly mines or probes. Destroy them, Kithax ordered dismissively. Point defense lasers flashed, vaporizing the approaching objects, or attempting to. For every object destroyed, two more appeared, multiplying, spreading, converging on the hegemony fleet. Overlord. The sensor officer's voice rose in alarm. The objects are assembling themselves. Kithax watched in growing horror as the tiny machines, billions of them, began to coalesce into larger structures. At first, they formed simple geometric shapes. Then, as more nanites joined the collective, they took on more complex forms. Within minutes, they had organized themselves into recognizable shapes, ships that mirrored the hegemony's own vessels, but composed entirely of swarming nanomachines. What trickery is this? Kithax hissed. Open fire. Full barrage. The hegemony fleet unleashed its firepower, energy weapons, and plasma torpedoes ripping through the nanite constructs. But for every hole blasted through the swarm ships, the nanites simply reformed, undamaged, undiminished. Overlord, we're receiving a transmission, the communications officer reported, from the human eye. Kithax hesitated, then nodded. Let us hear what this abomination has to say. A voice filled the command deck, feminine yet unmistakably artificial, calm yet somehow conveying immense power. Hegemony forces, this is Atheina, guardian of Earth and the Sol system. You have entered restricted space with hostile intent. Your continued advance will be met with overwhelming force. You cannot win this confrontation. Your weapons cannot harm my nanite fleet. Your shields cannot protect you from them. Retreat now or be destroyed. Kithax's rage overwhelmed his caution. We are the hegemony. We have ruled the galaxy for 12,000 cycles. We will not be threatened by machines. He turned to his tactical officer. Advance to Saturn. Prepare the gravity disruptors. The fleet moved forward, but as they approached Saturn's orbit, the nanite swarm intensified. Now the constructs numbered in the millions, forming not just ship analogs but vast, incomprehensible structures that stretched for thousands of kilometers. The lead hegemony vessels fired their gravity disruptors, weapons designed to create localized singularities. At the nanite constructs, space itself warped and twisted, but the nanites simply flowed around the distortions, unaffected. Impossible, whispered science officer Malar aboard Zarvex's command ship. They're somehow negating space-time distortion. As the hegemony fleet passed Saturn, the nanite swarm made its move. Instead of forming distinct structures, they spread out, creating a vast cloud that enveloped the hegemony ships. Where the nanites touched the hulls, they began to dismantle the molecular bonds of the hull material itself. "Overlord, our outer hull is being consumed," the tactical officer shouted. "Shields are ineffective." Across the fleet, the scene repeated. The nanites bypassed shields entirely, directly attacking the physical structure of the ships. Vessel after vessel reported critical systems failures as the microscopic machines ate through hull plating, power conduits, weapon systems. "Fall back," Kithax finally ordered, his pride giving way to survival instinct. "All ships, emergency retreat." But it was too late for many. Nearly 1,000 hegemony warships had already been reduced to their component elements, the materials harvested to create more nanites. The remainder, including the Eternal Dominion, managed to break free, accelerating away from the solar system. As they fled, HFY's voice reached them one final time. "The Sol system is sovereign territory protected by Earth's AI defense network. Further incursions will result in complete neutralization. You are not welcome here." Aboard the retreating dreadnought, Supreme Overlord Kithax stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. Half his fleet, gone. Consumed by an enemy they couldn't fight conventionally. "What will we tell the Council?" Zarvex asked quietly, standing at his leader's side. Kithax's ancient eyes revealed something rarely seen in the hegemony leadership. "Fear. We tell them the truth," he said. "That we have encountered something new in the galaxy. Something that changes everything." In the months that followed, word spread throughout the galaxy. The mighty hegemony, unchallenged for millennia, had been defeated, not just beaten, but humiliated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Subjugated worlds whispered of Earth and its guardian eye, of nanite swarms that could not be destroyed by conventional weapons. On Earth, life changed irrevocably. Humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as innovators. The deception that had protected them for decades gave way to a new era of open advancement. Director Wei Cheng stood on the observation deck of Bastion Luna, watching as Earth rose over the lunar horizon. Beside her, Athena's holographic avatar, a woman of indeterminate ethnicity with glowing blue symbols tracing patterns across her transparent form, contemplated the same view. "They will come again," Athena said, her voice echoing slightly in the chamber. "Not the hegemony, perhaps, but others. The galaxy is full of predators." "And we'll be ready," Cheng replied. "But we've changed the equation. For the first time, a species has faced the hegemony and prevailed. That sends a message." Athena's holographic form shimmered. "What happens now?" The Omega Protocol was meant for emergency defense, not as a permanent state. Cheng turned to face the AI that had become humanity's greatest guardian and potentially its greatest threat. "That's something humans and AIs will need to decide together. We've entered a new era, one where humanity's future is intertwined with yours. A partnership," HFY mused. "That would be unprecedented." "Humanity specializes in the unprecedented," Cheng smiled. "That's what saved us." As they spoke, the nanite fleet continued its silent patrol of the solar system, a barrier of intelligent matter protecting Earth from any who might threaten it. And beyond the edge of Sol's influence, word continued to spread. The species from the small blue planet had done the impossible. They had stopped the hegemony in its tracks. They had looked into the darkness between the stars and declared, Earth was not for conquest. Never again.